A new report out this week reveals an increase in both costs and prevalence of Alzheimer's disease. You hear a lot about that these days. Joining me today are Ruth Gay, Chief Policy Officer with the Alzheimer's Association, and Chris Hannafin, who is living with early stage dementia. Thank you both for coming on. We really appreciate it. Very kind of you. One of the big findings in the report is about the cost of living with Alzheimer's, and for the second year in a row, it's expected to surpass $250 billion. Ruth, why so much money?
It's astonishing, actually, that
really
Alzheimer's is the most expensive disease in America today. And that $250 billion,
The most expensive disease in America, more than cancer, more than heart disease.
Absolutely.
Really?
This is a disease that lasts many years. People start in the very early stages and live for a very long time with the disease.
That makes sense.
And I think, you know, the costs translated are, so much of the costs are Medicare and Medicaid urgent care costs and some of the out-of-pocket costs that add up over the course of the disease and certainly affect our overall economic status. I mean, this is a disease that could bankrupt Medicare and Medicaid in the coming years if we don't find a way
as
to
the population continues to age and more people
are
diagnosed.
Are at risk. Right, and we know that many people don't get diagnosed.
Right.
You know, Chris went through quite a long time to get a diagnosis. They did lots of other things before they did that, and it wastes a lot of time, right?
Sure. Chris, it's really kind of you and important that you come on and talk about this and let everybody, put a real face to this disease. And so many people are obviously affected by this and their families. When did you first start to notice something wasn't quite right?
About 5 years ago. And since that time, it took me about 2 or 3 years to really, go into the process of finding out if I had a diagnosis. And at that time, I did find out that I had a diagnosis of early onset. And
did you just notice your memory wasn't as good? Or
yeah. I mean, one of the things that I remember is when I was trying to type something and I couldn't find the letter Y. And that's when it really felt to me like, okay, this is serious, because I'd never had that problem before.
What did you do as your career?
I worked for Oracle for most of my career, and other tech companies.
Was it, obviously it's unsettling, even upsetting when you find out. What is the prognosis? What do you expect to happen to you in the years ahead? What do you worry about?
I'm not worried about anything, actually.
Really?
The experience for me has caused me to really look at myself and the world and to look at what I have rather than what might come to me.
All right. I have to be honest, just talking with you, you wouldn't know there's any issue with your mind. I mean, don't you feel that way? I'm sure you feel that way on many occasions, that, hey, I'm fine. Some days are better than others.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's so important that, Ruth, isn't it so important to hear from people like Chris, because we can really tap into that and recognize maybe something we see in a relative or ourselves when we hear Chris's story.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that's really notable is we are moving more and more towards cost savings could be translated just in earlier diagnosis, as in what Chris got. I'll tell you that Chris is involved in doing peer support, he's involved in groups, he's doing advocacy, he's involved in a number of things that allow him to continue to live. He's living his life, right, with a chronic condition. And if we could get better at helping people understand what they're dealing with and manage the disease over the course of the disease, we could save costs.
All right, very quickly, does early detection really make a difference in outcome, or not really? You just are aware of it sooner?
I think you manage your condition better and you're not so crisis driven in what you do if you know what you're dealing with. If you go 10 years into a disease without knowing what you're dealing with, you do lots of things wrong.
You've lost some time, valuable time. All right, Chris, Ruth, thank you both for coming in. A very important topic that affects more and more of us, sadly, every day.
Thank you.
And our best to you, Chris. Thank you.